All right. Hello, howdy, hi, and a big hearty welcome all the way from still a little bit chilly, but it was +7 today degrees Celsius. So short and t-shirts weather for a nice run weather in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. My name is Curtis Dohaniuk, and I am a product expert with Replicon. And today I will be your guide and host on our feature webinar presentation about how to leverage time tracking to recover the lost business momentum that many organizations may have experienced with the abrupt changes that we faced last year. But before we get too far into the webinar, there is a quick agenda I wanted to go over. So first, we're going to take a look at an overview of some of the challenges that organizations may face when it comes to tracking their time, as well as what our platform is. Afterwards, we will hop into a demo of exactly how our platform works so you can see everything in action. Then we'll take a look at a few customer transformations, and finally, we will finish off with a Q&A. So for that Q&A, just a little bit of housekeeping. I know everyone's excited for the presentation, but you will be on mute throughout the webinar. But don't fret. If you have any burning questions that pop into your brain at any point in time, feel free to submit them in the question box at the bottom of your screen. Yes, I'm pointing to the bottom of the screen. You can't see me, but I do it anyway. And we'll get to them all at the end of the webinar. And maybe a little bit later after the webinar, you're sitting down to have a coffee or getting ready to watch some TV. And for some strange reason, Replicon pops into your brain. I don't know. The mind works in mysterious ways. You can always drop us a line, send us an email, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible because we literally have people working around the globe and around the clock to make sure we can always take care of any of your questions. And finally, this hasn't happened yet, but if there is any massive disasters, maybe you can't hear my voice, my screen turns black, I get sucked into a black hole, feel free to raise your hand, then submit a question letting me know of the issue, and then I'll get to it as soon as possible. And that way, everyone can enjoy the webinar to its fullest. So at Replicon, not only do we believe that people's time is a strategic asset, but we believe it is your most important asset. Time is finite, and there is only so much available to an organization at any given time. I know, ironic. And once it is used up, it is gone forever. You are not getting back. So you need to treat it like that precious, precious resource that it truly is. And exactly how much time do you have at your disposal? Well, depends on the size of your organization. So if we're looking at a 500 employee organization, they're going to have 1.04 million hours available into a year. 5,000 employees will have 10.4 million hours available annually. And with 50,000 employees, you are going to have 104 million hours available in 1 year. And that is so much time. It is definitely too much time for any one person or even one department to manage on their own. And what makes this time so difficult to keep track of? Well, one reason, it is fragmented and tedious. And many organizations saw this challenge when they started to move their workforce around. But we have so many moving parts in a given organization. You have ERP, project management, CRM, HCM, PSA, payroll. And as you can see with Frankie, our poor Franken system here, not every single piece fits into the puzzle so elegantly. And make matters even worse, right now, we have on-premises hardware and on-premises data and databases. And let's just say not everyone is necessarily working on-premises. So getting your information where it needs to go can be a nightmare, and then trying to track and understand this information, even more difficult. And these difficulties cause so many challenges. We've highlighted a couple of the headaches. I'm sure you've all done this in the past few weeks, past few months, who knows? It's been an interesting year to say the least, but billing delays, future pipeline and growth, decreased profitability, inability to plan to capacity, invoicing errors, revenue leakages, low utilization rates are all problems that organizations face. And this is not great because, well, we have so many employees that are relying on all this data. We have finance leaders, operation leaders, delivery leaders, resource managers, billing leaders, HR leaders, just to name a few. And although they need this time information for many different reasons, as we can see demonstrated here, what doesn't change is that they need this data to be clean and accurate and usable for their purposes. And so we need to make sure that they have one source of truth that everyone can pull this time from reliably and know they are making the best decisions from their organization because, well, they're getting that clean, accurate data that is giving them the answers that they need. And well, that's why we're here today. We're going to talk about that platform. It is Replicon's time intelligence platform, and it is a powerful platform for all of your time tracking needs. So you're going to hear me say this probably more than a couple of times today. But Replicon is so configurable and agile. Every single aspect of our platform can be changed to meet your organization's needs. And one of those changes is size. So whether you are that 10 employee startup or that 100,000 or even 1 million employee established organization, we can grow and evolve with you and really suit all of your needs that way too. And on top of being able to grow in size, we are able to grow in locations. So we are global and secure. We have multiple languages, currencies, time zones, holiday schedules, pay rules. The list goes on. We are ensuring that you have a configured Replicon experience for every single employee in your organization, no matter where they are. And on top of that, security is one of our top priorities. We know how important your data is, and we want to ensure that your data does in fact remain your data. So our security standards are industry high. On top of that, we are mobile ready. So not only are we global, but we are mobile. We have built our mobile apps from the ground up to ensure that you are able to track your time information wherever you are. Because, well, realistically, if you're trying to remember everything that you did during the day, and then you're waiting till you're sitting in front of a computer, and then when you're getting ready to log that information, it's probably not as fresh, might not be accurate, and then you're not getting that real-time feed of all that information again that you need to make those big decisions. So having our mobile app means you can take action wherever, whenever duty calls. And on top of that, we have artificial intelligence sprinkled throughout our platform to ensure that all these processes are streamlined. So whether it is our chatbot who can answer questions or streamline processes, or our smart approval processes where we can automatically escalate based on a certain amount of time, or automatically approve timesheets if they have no errors, we really just ensure that every single process in our platform is as simple and efficient as possible. And finally, we are plug and play. We don't want your data to be housed in silos. We want it to get where it needs to go. So we are bilateral, which means not only can we send information where it needs to go, but we can receive information from basically any platform in your ecosystem to ensure that your processes, again, smooth and efficient. Replicon is a comprehensive suite that is made up of multiple solutions. And as you can see here, we have project-based solutions that are time and billing, project time and costing, project resource management, as well as time and attendance solutions about workforce management, global paid time off. And all of these solutions can be mixed and matched. So you can have as many or as few that make sense for your organization. Maybe you grow and evolve and see that there's a need for global paid time off a little bit later after you've already started with Replicon. No fear, you can always adjust your system accordingly to make sure that Replicon is working as hard as possible for your organization. So here is a quick rundown of everything we are going to look at in the webinar and demo today. We're going to take a look at our agile and configurable time tracking. We're going to take a look at our intelligent timesheets and approvals. We're going to demonstrate how accurate estimates to actuals will help you with your work from home. We're going to help you with those improved billable hours, take a look at accurate costing, billing, and invoicing. And finally, we are going to demonstrate the flexible, scalable, and global nature of our cloud platform. So without further ado, let us hop into the demo. So at Replicon, we do know that many organizations faced a lot of challenges last year, and this brought a lot of organizations to realize that digitization is so important. And not only that they needed to adapt to those changes that were happening and are still happening, but they need to make sure their organization can adapt to any changes in the future. And that is what our Replicon platform is here for. Our platform is constantly growing and evolving to make sure that you are able to track every single hour of time in your organization. And there's a lot that goes into time. Not only do you have hours, but you have work time, you have time off hours, you have project hours, non-project hours, billable hours, non-billable hours, and you need to make sure you are making sense of all this information. So not only are we going to track every single hour, but we are going to transform every single hour. And one of the ways that we display these transformations is through our dashboards. So as you can see here on a ground level, we are capturing all of your hours. We get a good visualization of work time, time off hours, estimated hours, as well as those over allocated hours. But we're going to want to do more than just know how many hours we're logging. So we can take that one step further and break those down into our overall productivity. So right off the bat, we can see project time versus non-project time. 89% project time is pretty good on first glance, right? We want to be having more project time than non-project time because that's where we're making our money. And if we're spending a lot of time in non-project time, that's really going to slow down our projects and affect our profitability. But once we actually do dive a little bit further into our utilization, we will realize that maybe project time isn't everything that we need to be keeping track of. So in this instance, we could see our utilization is only 57%. And utilization is your project time billable versus your project time non-billable and your non-project time. Because again, those are going to be hours where you're not making money. And ideally, we should be aiming for a 70% utilization rate as an organization. So we do see that there is some room for improvement, that we can really achieve a better utilization to increase our profitability as an organization. And we can see how these decreased utilization rates are affecting our projects. So if we drill into our projects, we can see that there are some projects that are going to have a ton of non-billable hours that are being logged. So whether this is non-billable or a non-billable project, we can see that our dashboarding, our evaluation of billing systems, evaluation of financial reporting tools, as well as our evaluation of an analytics tools are all struggling a little bit. They have a ton of non-billable hours being logged. So these are just a good indicators of projects that might need some help, might need some restructuring, just so that we can ensure that they are profitable and really moving along in an efficient manner. So we were all able to understand this with just a couple of clicks with these in-depth dashboards. But to have all this information displayed like you see here, well, we're going to need a capture system that is sophisticated, and that's where our platform comes into play. So at Replicon, we allow you to create the project that you need for every instance. If you have your own project planning program, you can actually import all of your data, like say from Microsoft Projects, and it will be visualized just like you see here. We also have the option to add projects directly because, well, sometimes you just want to add a quick project. You know exactly what you need. And you're going to hear me say this probably a million times today, but our platform is so configurable. We can make these projects whatever you need them to be right off the bat. So we have the option to allocate to one client. We can actually allocate between multiple clients. We can also go ahead and change things like our program, our billing type, billing rate, time period, time and expense entry, and total contract value. And that is just the tip of the iceberg, because once we've actually created these projects, we can dive down a little bit deeper and even change more things. So we'll be able to change our project managers, our cost types, our time and expense entry, project currency, total contract value, estimated hours, cost, and expenses. So we are really ensuring that every single project is going to be exactly what you need it to be. And again, we have all seen that things are changing rapidly, so we need a platform that is flexible. And this is just one of the many examples of this flexibility that you will see today. And to better understand how all this time information is going to filter through our platform and be displayed like you saw with our dashboard, it's good to understand how projects are structured within the platform itself. So at the top of our project structure is our programs. And our programs are the larger initiatives within an organization. And essentially a program is a group of projects. So you can see with business intelligence practice, we have as many projects as we need, which is 10 in this instance. And with administration and our poor, sad sales and business development, it hasn't started yet, but it's still a little lonely. They only have one project. And again, this number can change and vary depending on how your organization sees fit. Now, a couple of other things we will see often within our platform are going to be tables and drill downs. So tables are pretty self-explanatory. We can change these table settings on the fly. We're not bothering with cost stuff today. We're focusing a little bit more on billing, so we'll get rid of that table setting. And from there, we can sort this information as need be. Now, maybe I am looking at this table and I think to myself, Curtis, I would love to find out some more about our business intelligence practice program. This is the Time Intelligence Program platform. Of course, we can tell you more, and we can drill down anytime we see one of these lovely blue fonts, and we will be given a ton of information on things like hours, cost, billing, resources, and actuals versus estimates. And from there, we can drill down even further and get a good look at every single project that is in this program. So depending on permissions, my screen may vary. In this instance, I can actually see everything because I'm in admin, so I got the power. But we can see all the projects that belong to me. You don't know how hard it was for me not to sing that song, but anyway, I can see all the projects that are under my name. We can see any of the projects that are in progress in our organization if I have the view. We can see which have been completed, and we can also see our archived projects. And this is so important because, well, your information is your information, and you should use it to better your organization. And by being able to access all these old projects, you can see where you did well, maybe where you struggled. You can drill down and see what tasks took you longer than you expected and help this to better plan your projects in the future. If you know how long specific projects, tasks are going to take you, then you can better plan your pipeline, fit more projects into a year, and ensure that you are being as efficient as possible and utilizing all of your resources without overutilizing. So really, by delving into your past, you can better plan the future. I know it sounds like one of those cheesy mantras, but it is so true. And from here, again, I can get a look at all the stats that I need. All these table settings can be changed. Again, we actually get a little bit more of a robust table on our project screen. I can sort, and if something catches my interest again, I see, yeah, financial data reporting fixes. It's our highest hour log of any project in this program. Tell me more. And with that, Replicon will tell me more. And we will get an efficient breakdown of our hours cost in billing. And this is in real time. So we can break this down daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. And this is going to be the real-time feedback that helps us keep a pulse on our organization. So for example, anytime I'm entering an hour, we'll be able to see how this has affected my actuals versus estimates, or in this instance, my billing versus cost. And late 2018 to early 2019, things were looking pretty good. Billing was nice and high. Costs varied, but they were lower than our billing, which is usually a good thing. And things were looking nice. But if we look on our histogram, there's some turbulence ahead. So as we fast forward, we can see we went through a little dormant phase here, and then things started to take a turn for a worse. We could see week to week, our costs were starting to skyrocket and we weren't billing much. So we had really hit kind of a stall on this project. And this is important to be able to see this because we want to be proactive and not reactive. And we don't want to be waiting till the end of a month or end of a quarter. So we can break this down into nice digestible chunks and really understand what is happening with a project at any given time so we can course correct if necessary before things get too scary. But we did also want these projects to be more than just a simple checkbox on our timesheets. So we have broken them down even further into the nice manageable chunks that are tasks. So tasks can be divided up to subtasks and sub-subtasks and as complex or simple task trees as you see fit, but they are really going to help you really dive into what is making every project move along or stall. So for example, here we can see interviewing is 46 out of 50 hours, 92% done. And if that is in fact the case, then we can move on from that task and start moving into other tasks if we are actually almost complete. On the flip side, we can see implementation not looking quite so friendly. We have a little bit of excessive hours that we have logged here. So this is a good indicator that we need to really focus in and close out this task before it costs us any more money. So this just allows us to understand exactly where we are on this project at any given point in time. But what it also allows us to do is better plan our projects in the future. So if I look at user training and see we're consistently coming in under time, it's only taking us 125 out of 200 of those hours and we're actually complete, then, well, when we're planning this task in the future, we can actually eliminate a ton of those estimated hours, and we can actually get a better accurate view of how long these projects are going to take and either fit more or projects into the pipeline and make more money, or plan less and make sure we are finishing these out in time and not being hung up on tasks like implementation, for example. So if implementation is taking us longer every single time, then we build up those estimates. And this just allows us to better understand our pipeline and make sure we are being as efficient as possible as an organization. So now that we understand how all our projects are structured within Replicon, now we are going to want a team working on that project. And I'll give you a couple seconds to guess where that is done. If you guess the team tab, you are correct. So our team tab not only will allow you to understand exactly who is assigned to a project, but it also demonstrates the permission-driven nature of our platform. So let's take Tammy Benson, for example. We can see that Tammy Benson is assigned to a number of projects. These are the only projects that she will be able to see project information on. Even if Tammy Benson is on a project in a program with other projects in it, she will not be able to see any of that information unless she has been given access to it. And then on top of that, Tammy Benson will only be able to see the project information that she has been given access to inside of that project. Yes, it's a little bit of a projectception. But for example, billing rates. So our billing rates, they can be added on the fly. We can create billing rates at any given point in time. We can remove billing rates from a specific project. We can adjust the billing rate. Maybe we need to offer a discount or we're increasing our price. And these billing rates will be assigned to members on our team. So if they have a billing rate assigned to them, this is the only billing rate that they will be able to use on that project. Again, ensuring that all the data being entered is correct and accurate and always up to date. So not only will they only be able to see billing rates, but they will only be able to log those billing rates towards the tasks that we give them access to. And not only do we control the tasks that they have access to, but we have control over when they see them. So we can schedule start and end dates. We can only apply one subtask of a task tree. So we are giving them a very narrow window of what they can see and ensuring that this will make time entry easy for them and accurate so that, again, we can trust all the data that is being put into our system. And understanding who is on a project is great, but we also want to see how their hours have been distributed. And this is done on our allocation tab. So our allocation tab will really give us a holistic view of how everyone on this project is being used. And there's a couple different color codes for us to understand these allocations. So this lovely shade of blue is going to be hours allocated to this project. This shade of gray is going to be hours allocated elsewhere. And then we have this, let's go with chartreuse. Yeah, I'm going to chartreuse, yeah. And this other green gray, I don't know if there's a fancy color name for that, but those are hours allocated to time off and holiday. Now, what we don't want to see is this little red triangle corner in the corner here. That's our arch nemesis. That is over allocated hours. And we all know over allocated hours. Those are hours that are incurring overhead and we're paying extra for. And we want to avoid those at all costs because that means we are not accurately utilizing our resources and we are increasing our overhead. So that's what we want to avoid. And that is what Replicon is here for. So we can see that, well, we had a little bit of a dormant phase on that project. And one reason is because we don't have a lot of hours logged on this project. So I think we need to get things kickstarted. So let's go ahead and add a user. And for many organizations, this can also be a pretty stressful process, whether you have 10 users, 100 users, 1,000 users, trying to find the perfect person for each role can be daunting. So we wanted to take the stress out of that process. So here you will be able to understand exactly how everyone is utilized. And if their box is looking full and you need them to work on a project for the whole month, then they're not going to work. But there are tons of metrics, so many metrics that we can sort through to ensure that we are really finding the perfect person for this role. So it's really fun staying up late with you APAC folk, but I do value my beauty sleep. So we're going to look for someone in North America, and that's going to limit my list a little bit already. And I do need someone with a very specific set of skills. I called Liam Neeson, but shockingly, he wasn't available. But I do need a Sage architect, and looks like we do in fact have one. And if we scroll forward, let's take a look at his availability. March 2021, he's looking very available. Looks like Alex Chu is going to be the perfect person for the job. But maybe, just maybe, we have more than one person that fills all these boxes. We can also assign them skill levels so we can understand who's going to fit the role even further. So maybe in one instance, we need a Sage, just an entry-level Sage architect. Then we'll know that we can see who has the lowest skill rating and assign them. Or if we need our Sage, which is Alex Chu, we need him on the big projects, then we know exactly who is going to fit each role the best. And from here we can add Alex directly to this project and go ahead and start allocating his hours. Now we know it can feel like working from home is a little bit of a treadmill. It's tough to see the big picture. Maybe you don't know what you should be working on all the time. So we want to help eliminate that with Replicon. So not only do we make allocating and assigning to projects easy, but we actually maximize your utilization with our allocation tools. So we need Alex to start working in March. We can allocate his hours by day. We can total hours. And since we're looking monthly, it's going to automatically populate that monthly total. Or very useful is a percentage of his available hours. So like we said on this treadmill, we want to maximize Alex's utilization. We don't want him over allocated because that's overhead, but we also don't want him under allocated because that means we're not finishing projects on time. Not finishing projects on time means we're probably not making as much money as possible because we're not fitting as much into our pipeline. So let's just allocate our users to their maximum 100%. not 101, not 99. And this will ensure that we are being as efficient as possible as an organization. And once I've added this allocation, this will have ramifications throughout our platform. So as we saw previously, we do have those dashboards. We also have those project page, and these will be updated with those estimates in real time. And Alex does have a cost associated with him, and this cost can be normalized based on the project. But once we have gone ahead and allocated these hours, this will be updated throughout the platform, and we'll be able to get a better understanding of how much a project should cost and how much we're spending, etc., in real time. And if we want to break this down, not only on a per project basis, but across our whole organization, we can drill even further into our resources. So just like we saw previously, we can understand exactly how every single person in our organization is allocated, but this page allows us to drill a little bit further and see exactly which projects they were allocated on. So we really get a holistic view of how our resources are being utilized. And maybe there was a couple areas that we wanted to drill down into even further. Maybe there was a project, so like we saw with our financial data reporting fixes, where there was a couple weeks where our costs ballooned. If we drill down into a specific month or week, we can see, okay, in October 2019, we did have a couple users that were over allocated, which is not ideal. And in some instances, we had users that were not being utilized very well at all. So this helps us to manage our balance on specific projects and understand where we have free time. Now, similarly, maybe I am realizing, you know what, every time I'm looking at my CRM architects, they are just working so hard. And I realize, oh my gosh, we are over allocating them a lot. Maybe we need to do some more hiring or training so that we can better distribute these hours and not tire these poor people out. So this resource page just really gives me that holistic view of how we are using our resources as an organization. But there will also be some instances when you don't exactly know who you need on our project. So for that, we have our placeholder resources. Maybe you're still in that planning phase and you're just trying to understand, okay, how much is this project going to cost? Who am I going to need? How many resources? You can create these placeholder resources. They can have a skill associated with them. You can also assign them specific costs. And once you add them onto the project, these estimates will be updated accordingly. And then once you get a better idea of what things are going to cost, get everything organized to your liking, you can do that training, you can do that hiring, and then you can start replacing those placeholder resources with real resources. And you don't have to worry about any of that data being skewed because, well, Replicon's done all the hard work already. It's done all the calculations, and it will make sure that all this data stays correct. And yeah, those users can start working away and getting your projects closer to completion. So far, we have looked at our project structure within Replicon, and we have drilled down a little bit further in how to staff them. And now is one of the really fun parts. It is how to log our time. And we call ourselves the Time Intelligence Company for a reason. Time is something we do so well. Within Replicon, there exists so many different permutations of timesheets that you could feasibly create a different timesheet for every single user in your organization. So let's start fresh here. We are going to have a little bit more of a project-oriented timesheet. And here I can search by specific client, project, and tasks to ensure that I am able to locate the things that I am in fact working on during the day. We do also realize that some organizations have a ton of different job codes, so we really wanted to make it easy to find the exact job code that you're working on. So not only can you search by name, but we can also pull up our filters and really just drill down and find exactly what we're looking for, because maybe in an instance we don't know the name of the client we're looking for example. So we can filter by location or whatever the case may be, just to really make sure we are logging our time accurately. And on top of that, we have those permissions in place. So again, you will only be able to see the access the information that you need to access. So today I'm working on activity, general admin. There's a lot of general admin this week. Plunking away my hours. We will see a couple of changes that happen in real time. One will be in our progress bars. So we saw these progress bars previously, and these are just important for us to understand how close to completion a task is. This also allows our users to, again, get off that treadmill and see that forward progress that they are making and bring up any objections if they see them. So maybe I see that my hours are a little bit over our estimate. I can bring this up to my manager. But maybe I'm the quiet, shy type and I don't want to bring this up to my manager. We are going to see how Replicon will solve that in just a second. But what we will also notice here is on the bottom, I have these target billable hours for March. And we can set this for an individual user or organization or a specific department. And this allows us to understand, again, what goals we have for ourselves for the month. So we can see right now that I have 26 out of 120 hours. I'm not quite where I should be. So this bar shows me where I should be progressed to up to this point of time, and I am not quite there. So maybe I'm working away and I realize, you know what? I don't think I'm going to meet my goals for this month. I can have this conversation with my manager beforehand so we can both avoid that awkward end of the month conversation where, oh, you didn't meet your goals. No. Yeah, that's too bad. And then everyone's embarrassed and disappointed. Now I can bring this up with my manager beforehand. I can tell them, yeah, things aren't looking good. I need some help. Let's turn things around. And this gives you the ability to do so. And we do also realize that when you're logging this data, you're not going to be working just on one task. And we really wanted to make entering your time again as efficient as possible. So maybe I'm working on implementation this week, but my activities will be changing. I can duplicate that row with just one click. I can change my activity, and then I can go ahead and plunk away with some more time. I also have the ability to overwrite this timesheet with my previous timesheets, and there are so many different adjustments we can make. So we can do with time, without time. You can allocate with scheduled hours, allocated timesheet. There are so many ways that we ensure that these timesheets are filled out quickly and efficiently. So once I have everything that's looking good and correct, I can go ahead and submit this for approval. Oh, and first, we will see this attestation. So this is an example of validation rules within Replicon. And validation rules are certain parameters that must be met every single time one of these timesheets is submitted. And these validation rules cover things like minimum hours entered, maximum hours entered, hours during a rolling period, mandatory break enforcement, the list goes on. But again, this is to all ensure that the time being entered is clean and accurate. And so I forgot to accept our attestation on the bottom, so I can go ahead and get this gentle reminder. I'm going to go ahead and accept and submit, but I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. This timesheet is going to be rejected. And why is it going to be rejected? Well, because I did not meet one of those validation rules. We can see I have an error. And as we saw previously, my time entered for task financial data reporting fixes implementation has exceeded the estimated 1,000 hours. So now, even if I have one of those shy employees, they are going to be forced to have a discussion with me if they want to submit this timesheet. And again, this allows us to be proactive instead of reactive. So maybe I set this threshold to 100% or 110% or 150%, whatever the case may be. As soon as that threshold is breached, this timesheet will be rejected and is putting the onus on the end user. Because one, we don't want these tasks to just drag on and start hemorrhaging our time and our money. We want everything to be taken care of when it needs to be taken care of. So now that I have this to my attention, we can make sure this project is on track. And also we want to put the onus on the end user to make sure all the time is being entered accurately. We know the pain of going back and forth with resources. Does this need to be changed? Yes. To what? This just makes my head hurt. We're avoiding that all entirely by putting that onus on the end user. So once we have submitted this timesheet, we're going to want to understand that, well, this isn't the only timesheet example that we have in with Replicon. As I said before, our platform does time so well, and there are so many permutations of timesheets based on your organization's needs. So, for example, some organizations are just going to be tracking just a basic timesheet, and we can do that. So here we can see Chris DeFonte is just tracking the time that he works per day. What we will also see is he triggered one of these validation rules, but he was still able to submit his timesheet. So we can either outright reject timesheets with these validation rules, or we can allow them to be submitted and flag them. So maybe in this instance, for example, we know that Chris isn't always going to be working that 40 hours. Maybe some weeks he works a little bit more. That's a possibility. We still want him to be able to submit this timesheet, but we want to see if there are any overtime hours that might need to be approved. So this timesheet will be flagged. I can drill down, and if everything's looking good, I can go ahead and approve. If I need to, I can reopen this timesheet. We can go down and change any of this information. We can also give Chris that permission to reopen this timesheet. And this permission can be for reopening that timesheet whenever he wants, reopening that timesheet only before it's been approved, or never reopening this timesheet. Again, permissions, validation rules, governance is all key to our platform. We just want to make sure everything is exactly as you need it to be. And if anything is changed here, we will be able to see that right on the bottom in that approval history. Now, another example of a timesheet I have here is a little bit more of a custom timesheet. This is for Kurt Jones. So with Kurt Jones, we'll actually be able to see the exact hours that he worked on any given activity, task, or project, as well as when he took his breaks. And we will also see a couple of custom fields here, one of those being comments. And right now, comments are pretty important. Again, with people working from home or working remotely, we might not have as much communication going back and forth, but we still want to see how they are doing at any given time. So we can have this comment field. Kurt can go ahead and log his comments at the end of the day, and we can see how he's doing. Just keep up to date with everything. But that will only happen if he remembers to enter these comments. So we can see again, he has triggered this validation rule. We still allowed this timesheet to be submitted, but this reminds me that I need to have a conversation with Kurt and remind him how important these comments are. And if he forgets next time, then we can actually change this timesheet on a week-to-week basis so that next time it rejects this timesheet. And he will be forced to enter these comments, and he will be forced to tell us how he was doing every single day. Similarly, we also have this custom field at the end here that says mileage. Now, this could say mileage, it could say units completed, it could be photo proof of the work done during the day. What I'm trying to exemplify here is not only can we create a timesheet for every single user in your organization, but we can create a timesheet for every situation that they may find themselves in. So you can change these timesheets every timesheet period. These timesheet periods could be daily, weekly, month, whatever makes sense for your organization. And from here, we can ensure that they have that timesheet that fits their needs. So Kurt Jones could be working home. He could be working from the office. Maybe one day, very soon, he is going to be working with clients on the road, and he needs that timesheet that is going to meet those needs. Replicon can do that for you. And one of the ways that we also ensure that you're able to track this time information wherever you are is through our mobile app. So just give me one moment here to switch my screen over, but we are going to show you our mobile app in action. So we built our mobile app from the ground up to ensure that this process of tracking your time is so easy for everyone involved. Chatbot, of course, is going to give us a friendly hello. Chatbot can streamline processes and answer questions, but unfortunately, we don't have any time for you today, Chatbot. But you will see right away that I have a ton of options when it comes to my time tracking on my mobile device. So we actually do support things like punching in and punching out. Again, we can punch in or punch out towards clients, projects, tasks if necessary. I can also take breaks, punch out transfer activities. We can actually mandate that things like a photo must be taken or a geotag, also just to improve the validity of every single one of these punches. And we also have access to our traditional timesheets. So I can drill down into any one of my timesheets, and just like I could on the desktop platform, I can log my hours towards specific projects, tasks, activities. Again, everything that I need is searchable, so I can find exactly what I'm working on. And it just really allows me to easily enter my time. I can actually submit it for multiple days as well if I'm working on the same thing every day. So again, it's just a really smooth, intuitive, and simple process. And we wanted this simple process to transfer over to every single person in the organization, and that includes approvers. So if I'm an approver, manager, payroll, whatever the case may be, anytime there is an action that I need to take, I will get either an email or a push notification, and that's notifying me that I need to drill down a little bit further and, well, take action, as I mentioned before. So here I can see I got a couple timesheets that are waiting for approval. We can actually batch approve or reject all these timesheets, but in this instance, I only have 3, so I can drill down a little bit deeper. And we'll see Tammy Benson, she's been having business as usual the past couple of weeks, 40 hours per week, 8 hours per day, no validation warnings triggered. We can actually bring up a payroll summary if we want, as well as her total hours. And if everything's looking good, we can go ahead and accept this timesheet. But maybe me as an approver am tired of going through all these regular timesheets, business as usual, 40 hours per week, no validation rules triggered. I'm going through hundreds of these a day. Maybe I want to set these to approve automatically. We have these smart approval processes in place for a reason. With our validation rules and our accurate time tracking, we are ensuring that all these timesheets are going to be correct. And if nothing is flagged, then we can set this to approve automatically. Not only does this allow us to get that information that we need quicker, but it saves so much time for administrators because they are not going to be going through every single timesheet, checking for errors. Everything is done within the platform itself. And on top of that, if you're still looking to do more of a traditional approval process, you can set this to 1-step approval, 2-step approval, 30-step custom approval. We have smart approval processes to make sure that you are able to manage this time in whatever way makes sense for your organization. And all of these timesheets will be managed in different tabs. And since we're talking billing today, we're going to actually drill down a little bit deeper into our billing tab, and we'll be able to see that every timesheet that we have created in the history of our organization will be housed here. And this is so important just in case we ever have disputes or we have any audits that need to be taken. We have access to all of this historical information. And not only will we be able to access our timesheets, but we also have access to all that billing information. Yes, we have done so much work on planning these projects, staffing them, and making sure everything is being logged towards them. Now, let's get paid for them. So our billing tab allows us to understand exactly what is the status of every single billable hour in our organization. And we can actually invoice directly from the platform. So all of these invoices are configurable. So for example, you will see here that we have configurable invoices that can be changed, things like our logos, line items, color schemes, layout, just to make sure that you are getting that invoice that you need. And you can actually adjust things on the fly. So maybe you're working and you realize this is going to be a little less time than you had expected. You can change that on the work order and you'll be able to see that change, which is visible for both issuer and issuee. And from there, you can issue directly from the platform itself, or if you have your own billing platform, we can actually sync up these invoices and it will be sent to that platform that you're using to do all your billing. Because like I said before, Replicon is bilateral. So just like we saw with projects where we can import them, we can export this information where it needs to go. So you're not getting those data silos. So you're getting a flexible platform that is really allowing you to dive deep into all of your information. And well, you've harvested a lot of information. You're really going to want to understand that. And how we display all the visualizations of this information, well, there's a couple of ways within our platform. One is through our dashboards. So like we saw before, dashboards are living and breathing, and they are really the culmination of all this data that you have entered into the platform. And these dashboards are perfect for exporting into slideshows, presentations for leadership, or just giving anyone an understanding of exactly what is happening within an organization. So for example, if we wanted a breakdown of all the hours on a project over a year, we'll get all the metadata behind that. And then we can drill down even further and understand who's spending hours on a specific project and really just find out the information we need with a couple of clicks. We also have access to reports, and I'm sure you've seen a report or two or 15 in your history, and that's because reports are so important. They give us all that hardline data behind our organization. And these are kind of the most requested reports, but they are by no means the exhaustive list. These can all be tweaked, adjusted. We can create reports from the ground up just to make sure you are getting all that data that you need. And these can be ran daily, weekly, monthly. They can be scheduled to be sent to anyone with an email address. And like we're about to see here, we can also run them on the spot. So one example is our project profitability analysis. This is going to take our total contract value, estimated cost, billing, actual cost, actual billing, expected and actual profitabilities, and smush all of this together, and it will tell us how we're doing on this project. And if things are not looking like we expected, we will get one of these gentle alerts, and this is going to tell us exactly what projects are going to need a little bit of course correction if we want to finish off profitable. So really, we are giving you all the tools that you need to understand what is happening with your organization. And this all comes back to our dashboards. So our dashboards, again, are great on Replicon itself, but we want to be able to harness this data across your whole organization and really interact with every ecosystem. So we can connect to BI tools like Power BI, Google BigQuery, and Tableau to really unleash your data in an even more comprehensive fashion. So here you will be able to see that we can look at our dashboard, which gives us all that basic information, but we can drill down even further into things like, for example, our utilization analyzer, which is going to tell us where we are getting those billable, non-billable, and non-project time hours by not only user, but by role. So we can really see how we are utilizing different people in our organization. And all this information is so easy to display. We have these pre-built workbooks that you just plug into your Replicon platform, log in, and it will be visualized just like you see here. And if you have a BI specialist at your organization, there are basically limitless amounts of ways that you can display all this information. So today, I hope we're really able to get a good understanding of how Replicon can not only help you to adapt to all these changes that are currently happening in the workforce, but help you to adapt to anything that is going to happen in the future. We're going to help you go digital, and we are going to help you access your information wherever and whenever you need it. So that is going to bring us to the end of our demo today. I'm going to hop back into our PowerPoint presentation. We're going to do a quick review of everything we saw, and then we'll hop into the Q&A session and answer any questions with you folks. So as you saw, Replicon is such a powerful platform with so many benefits. We can help you decrease costing and revenue leakages, increase resource utilization, decrease administrative overhead. The list goes on. Replicon is capable of so much because it is the time intelligence platform, and it is the one source of truth for all of your time data. And we can see that in action with a couple of organizations here. So our first example is a 300 employee consulting firm. They, I know, GASP used manual spreadsheets and homegrown systems, and this was not at all flexible. This made it difficult to manage their cash flows, made billing an utter nightmare, and this affected their profitability. But after implementing Replicon, they had a user-friendly interface that facilitated accurate and consistent data collection, improved their resource management, allowed for better staffing, and more faster and accurate billing as the client billing process was streamlined. Another example is this 6,500 employee IT services firm. Now, they had field-based project workforce, and field-based project workforce means that people are logging time in different ways, in different spots, and it was not unified, and this did not give them that single source of truth they needed to make decisions. This led to inaccurate data and cash flow problems, and things started to snowball until they were unable to recognize where the initial difficulties arose from. So they needed this intervention, and this intervention was Replicon. And after implementing our platform, they had granular detail and holistic view across their whole organization, which created real-time actionable data, which allowed them to make those big decisions with ease. And this increased utilization and profitability and created cultural change amongst the organization because no longer did people have to argue about the information. They knew it was correct and accurate every single time. So Replicon is that comprehensive suite made up of multiple solutions. And as you saw today, we focused a little bit more on time and billing, but we do have plenty of other solutions that can meet all of your needs. And if you want to find out a little bit more, we do have weekly webinars as well as rotating monthly webinars that will cover all of these topics. So feel free to register for those, or if you want, get in touch with us and we can actually get you a customized demo so that you can see how Replicon can work for your organization specifically. We know that a big generic demo is great for understanding the platform, but we really want you to see how this platform can work for you. So we'll be able to show you exactly what you need to see to really understand how this platform can fit into your organization. And really, there isn't a use case we haven't seen. So we are able to find a home in any ecosystem. So if you have any questions about what you saw today, you can always drop me a line. My email is curtis.dohaniuk@replicon.com. Might be good to copy down from the slide because the last name is a little bit tricky for a few people. And if you need to get in touch with us, you can give us a call, 1-877-762-2519. That will not get you in touch with me, but you will get in touch with a happy, smiling person who is ready to help you out with any of your questions. And I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I know how precious everyone's time is, so I want to thank you for spending a little bit with me. And I hope you are all staying safe, staying happy, taking care, and we hope to hear from you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.